What's going on, everybody? Nice knife, bro. Nice knife, bro. Welcome to the channel. It's gonna be my first video. All my videos are going to be uncut, unedited, unfiltered. I'm gonna try to keep them around 10 to 15 minutes because if you're like me, don't have a long attention span. So I'm just gonna try to smash these out. I'm not gonna give this preamble on my other ones, but this is kind of a general overview of these reviews I'm gonna do. I have a lot of knives, some cheap, some expensive, some obscure, some super common, and I'm gonna give my opinions on these blades from a normal, everyday dude who works in construction and uses my knives for very normal stuff. I'm not some metallurgist. I don't know every single piece of information and history about the manufacturers or the blade steel or the handle types. I'm just an average guy. I like knives. I go on Bladeforums and have accounts at various knife stores online, Blade HQ, Knife Center, stuff like that, DLT trading, stuff like that. Anyway, that's what this channel is going to be about. Just me kind of ranting and raving and giving my opinion on some knives. So this is the one I'm going to start this channel with. Why? Because it's my favorite knife. Why is it my favorite knife? Because it's like my end-all, be-all. If I could only have one knife in the world, this is the knife I would pick. Money not an issue. Have everything available to me. This is a knife I'd take, hands down, 100%. I have other knives. I have a lot of other knives. Here's an example of I have Paramilitary 2 with some custom stuff on there. I'll talk about that one. This knife here is a Swamp Rat Knife Works Ratmandu, and I'll give some stats off for the nerds here. So it's made out of SR 101 steel. Now that is a proprietary carbon steel commonly used in the Bussekin family. What I mean by that is Busse, Jerry Busse, started designing knives in the late 80s, I think, early 90s. He did design this knife. This isn't technically a Busse, although he designed the thing. And his wife or his brother or something, I don't know the history, but they branched off into 3 different little businesses. You got scrapyard knives, you have Swamp Rat knives, and you have the Busse. Respectively, those are the tiers of blades. So Busse being the pinnacle, Swamp Rat being the sort of middle ground, and scrapyard being on the lower end. And when I say lower end, I mean they don't use these canvas micarta handles. They use like rubber and stuff like that. So anyway, why do I like this knife? Well, the blade's about 5 inches long. It's got a nice choil on here for sharpening and holding. You know, a lot of guys on these channels say stuff like detail work. I don't know what the hell that means. All I know is I've taken this knife camping, I've taken it hiking, I've taken it just bumming around. It does have a bit of weight to it, so it's not something you're going to want to have on your hip all the time, but it's not too bad. I took this knife on my honeymoon and walking the Appalachian Trail with this thing. I sent it into Busse, something that you can do with any of the Bussekin knives and they'll sharpen it for you, but I didn't really like their level of sharpening, so my wife bought me a Wicked Edge for, you know what the hell did she even buy me that for? Am I drawing a blank here? Was it like Valentine's Day or just a random present? It wasn't for my birthday, for gosh sakes. I don't remember. Maybe anniversary present, probably. In either case, I put a Wicked Edge on here. This is probably the 5th knife I've done, so it's probably not the best. My setup is fairly rudimentary, so I'm sorry if you can't really see that, but it's a nice polish. SR 101 steel. It's pretty good stuff, man. Holds an edge really well. Doesn't roll or chip. I've used it to baton a lot of wood, not huge logs or anything. For those of you don't know, batoning is like, you have a log, right? Like, so this is vertical, and then you put the knife like this, and then you hit the top of it, and it splits the wood. So if you're like a little campfire in your backyard with your buddies, this is a knife you can bring over, split some of that wood up, make some smaller pieces. It's not offensive, it's not going to scare anyone. It'll probably start some conversation. I bought this knife directly from Swamp Rat Knife Works in the area of 2009 to 2010-ish. I think I only paid like 160 bucks for the darn thing. And you know, back then that was kind of a lot of money to spend on a knife, but nowadays, God, I mean, your PM2, your base PM2 is $170 now, so it's kind of a sad state of affairs. Knives are expensive. This one in particular, if you were trying to obtain one, there's only a couple ways. eBay, which you should probably be careful doing knife transactions on eBay. There are a lot of fakes out there. There are a lot of reputable stores. Knife Hunter, they sell a lot of Bussekin blades and nice blades on there. That's a legitimate place on eBay. You're probably gonna end up paying $300 if you can find one. If you're not too particular on the usage amount or the handle scales or the color of the finish or anything, you could probably get one for maybe a little less than that. But the other way is Bladeforums. Bladeforums is a convoluted, confusing website that you got to spend some time to try to navigate through there. But there's sellers on there that sell, and they have a specific forum for Bussekin knives for sale by individuals. And there'll be guys on there selling, hey, look, I got a Swamp Rat Ratmandu for sale, $275, PayPal, friends and family only, inside the continental. There's all these terms and algorithms, or not algorithms. I don't know what the word is. I'll think about it sometime. But there's all a bunch of different terms that they use on there. It's kind of confusing. Learning curve's pretty high, but once you do it, the guys on there are pretty awesome. There's ratings and things, and you could probably find one. Just make an account on Bladeforums. Once you do, go into the little search section, search up RMD. That's literally all you'd have to do. And I'm sure at least once a month, someone's selling one of these knives. Now, that doesn't favor very well for you if I'm telling you that you should buy this knife, because it's going to be pretty difficult to get. Busse is obscure. Bussekin family knives are obscure. They're sort of hidden in the depths of the knife world, and I really wish they weren't, but that's just how Jerry Busse and his family like to do things. They sell their knives very strangely. Sometimes they'll do runs on Bladeforums. Sometimes they'll do some runs on their website. You can go there right now, I think, and buy like the Hellraiser 2 and some of the other, maybe Gemini blades are still on there, but for the most part, man, they're super tough to get. If you can get it, get one. And I recommend this knife to anybody. From the peak echelon knife connoisseur type person who understands blade steels and everything, like a guy who just is obsessed with knives. This is a great knife if you don't have it. If you haven't heard of them, I don't blame you. I mean, you go to Blade HQ, like I said, Knife Center, they don't have Busse knives on there, man. They don't have them. They don't talk about them. They don't list them. When other knife reviewers on YouTube do the best survival fixed blade in the world, my top 10 survival, almost never are Bussekin knives listed because they're very obscure and they're hard to get. The fact of the matter is, this knife is better than any other knife out there. This knife is better than maybe any knife ever, and the reason why is because it's literally perfect. If you were gonna ixnay anything on this knife, it'd be the weight. But with that weight comes an insane amount of durability and trust and faith. And I say this from the depths of my heart. If I knew that I was gonna be alone on an island, or I was gonna be stuck somewhere by myself for an indeterminate amount of time, and you could bring one knife, this is the knife I'm bringing. Hands down, 100%. This knife isn't gonna break. Through standard, normal use, and even upper levels of hard use, it's not going to break. This SR101 steel is freaking awesome. And sharpening it is not too bad either. You could probably get away with stropping this or going across a small stone if you actually had to get the edge back. It doesn't roll, it doesn't chip. I mean, this edge now on it is crazy sharp that I put on here, but this canvas micarta, as you can see, this stuff's starting to patina pretty good. Just from my oils on my hand and blood from deer and God knows what else is on this thing. But I'm 6'3". I have medium hands, I would say, for my size. This fits me really well. You can squeeze it as hard as you want. It's very comfortable in the hand. The ergos or ergonomics, whatever you want to say, is very good. Kitchen work. I've cut up fish. I've cut up steak. I've cut up deer meat. I've cut vegetables. It's not the best slicer in the world. It is thick, as you can see. I don't have the stats, but it's probably 0.18 inches, somewhere in there, 0.19, almost a 1/4 inch to most of us. It's pretty thick. The weight probably around 10 to 14 ounces, I would say. I'm not, like I said, I'm not the guy that's going to go through these knives and give you every single detail. I'm just going to give you honest to God reviews. If you can find a Swamp Rat Knife Works Ratmandu, buy it, obtain it, bet your life on it. If you're a military guy and you're going to be outside the wire, I'm not a military guy, never been there in that situation. But if I were, I would take this knife, because this knife isn't going to break. This knife isn't going to fail me. Yes, it's going to be a little bit heavier than some of the other military options, or tops knives, or I'm not into tactical knives that much. But for the most part, you know, you're talking maybe what, 5 ounces difference for something that's made out of like 13 MOV, maybe an S30V steel, possibly. Most fixed blades aren't made out of that. You got D2, you know. This knife is very forgiving. It does flex a little bit. When you put massive amounts of side pressure on these things, they don't snap, they don't break. And if I was going to trust my life with one knife forever, this is it. It's small enough to do your little tasks you guys like to talk about, your small tasks, making tent pegs or feather sticks out on the field. It's large enough to baton with. It's comfortable enough to use for a long period of time. It's not going to break. This is technically, like I said earlier, a carbon steel, but it acts and behaves like a stainless steel. It doesn't rust. I've never had any problems with this knife rusting or getting any kind of contamination on this blade whatsoever. Obviously, this coating helps prevent that a little bit, but even on the sharpened edge, I've never had any issues. This knife is awesome. Bladeforums, eBay, Jersey Devils. I'm not even sure if that website exists anymore, to be honest with you. Sort of dating myself here, but they used to sell knives, second party. There are some other knives companies, Arizona Knife Works or something like that. They probably would have some Bussekin blades on there, I'm assuming. But your DLD Trading, your Blade HQ, your Knife Center, I'm sure there's a couple other ones out there. They don't have these. They don't sell them. They're hard to get. The secondary market on them is insane. You know, you buy a Busse in a sprint run or from the website, and it's going to triple in value, or at least hold its value pretty much indefinitely. I have a NMSFNO, a Nuclear Meltdown Special Forces Natural Outlaw, that I bought around the same time as this for maybe $300. It's worth probably $400 to $500 now, just because they don't make them anymore, and that's just kind of how Jerry Busse does his thing. I wish it was mass produced. I feel like maybe if it was, some of the quality and the prestige of having it would be kind of lost, I guess you could say. But this knife is awesome, man. Like I said, I've used it for everything. I've used it for years. This coating holds up super dope. I mean, it's not even really coming off at all. And I mean, the tips wore out a little bit there from prying stuff and whatever. But as far as the marks on here and the scratches from batoning, it's not that bad. Wait till you see my Busse NMSFNO. NMSFNO. That thing is that thing's got a lot of marks on it. But look, that's my channel. These are the kind of reviews I'm going to do. They're going to be straight to the point, honest. I have a lot of knives that are in that common group where folks looking to buy a new knife, folding knives, etc., are looking at these particular knives, like the PM2 and other things like it. So I'll give a straight up review on these things. No edits, no cuts, no fancy graphics. I'm just going to get right to the point. Don't know how successful this channel will be. Hopefully it pops off and I get some more interactions with chat saying, hey, I want to see this knife, or can you go into more detail about that knife, whatever. But I'll be open to all that. I'm just going to keep pumping these out, probably at least one a week, and see what happens. Real quick here, this is the sheath for the blade. It's Kydex. I kind of had an aversion to Kydex for a while, but this is pretty awesome. It's never failed me. It works really well. And this was made by Mashed Cat, one of the Bladeforums members. I'm not sure if the guy even makes sheaths anymore. You can go canvas, you can go Kydex, you can go leather, whatever you want to do is fine. Swamp Rat Knife Works, Ratmandu, RMD. I don't know. get one if you can. And you'll get one day and you'll be doing something and your friend's gonna be like, hey, nice knife, bro. And you can come back here and thank me in the comments that you saw it here. So thanks for watching. Appreciate your time. Like, subscribe, hit the bell, make a comment, ignore me, do what you got to do. I'm going to keep pumping these videos out whether you like them or not. So see you on the next one.